Crypto products are unregulated and could be highly volatile. Please be aware of the risks before investing.
राज, बाबूजी के आशीर्वाद से हमने अपनी नई शुरुआत तो कर ली, पर अपना फ्यूचर प्लान कैसे करें?
बड़े बड़े शहरों में ऐसी छोटी छोटी बातें होती रहती हैं।
Looking for perfect start? Get a Bitcoin today. Download the Unocoin app.
जब मैं तेरी उम्र का था ना, तो एक सक्सेसफुल करियर, लॉन्ग टर्म प्लानिंग सब रेडी करके रख चुका था। और एक इन महाराज को देखो, पूरा दिन फोन में लगा रहेगा।
दैट प्लानिंग तो मैंने भी कर रखी है, Unocoin के साथ।
नए जमाने के साथ नई चीजें आजमाएं। Looking for Bitcoin? Download the Unocoin app.
Guys, we really need to work hard. This wasn't a good quarter. Tell me, are you happy with this?
Yes! Unocoin.
Want to earn Bitcoin? Just grab your phone and shake it. Download the Unocoin app.
Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin,
Bitcoin, Bitcoin.
Get a systematic buying plan from the Unocoin app to get your Bitcoin today. Download the Unocoin app.
Hello dear Unocoiners and welcome to this special AMA of ours. As you already know, we do a couple of Ask Me Anything sessions to educate and inform our users about different topics. But our today's AMA topic is really special because it's about an ongoing crisis which could affect millions of people including you and me. Now, how positive or negative is this going to be? To know that, you'll have to stay connected with us till the end of this session and you can ask any possible questions that come to your mind regarding this. Like always, this is your host Shambhavi and we are soon going to have with us the CEO of Unocoin, Mr. Sathvik, who also happens to be a very knowledgeable crypto expert, as you guys already know. So in the meantime, guys, our government has recently introduced certain new updates about crypto in India. So I want you to watch this video which is going to be played right now so that you can just get an overview of what this new regulation or provision is. And then you can let me know what you think about that. I request my back. हेलो डी Unocoiners एंड वेलकम बैक टू आवर चैनल। तो हाल में ही हमारी फाइनेंस मिनिस्ट्री ने क्रिप्टो को लेकर एक नया प्रोविजन जारी किया है। अब से हर क्रिप्टो ट्रांजैक्शन एंटी मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग लॉ के तहत रेगुलेट होगा। सबसे पहले तो जानते हैं कि इसका मतलब होता क्या है। तो पिछले कुछ समय से दुनिया भर में अलग अलग देश मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग और टेररिस्ट फंडिंग के अगेंस्ट कड़े कदम उठा रहे हैं। तो इसी मुहिम का हिस्सा बनते हुए हमारे भारत ने भी एक नया प्रोविजन जारी किया है जिससे कि क्रिप्टो एक्सचेंजेस, वॉलेट प्रोवाइडर्स और बाकी सारे क्रिप्टो और एनएफटी रिलेटेड बिजनेसेस को रिपोर्टिंग एंटिटी का दर्जा दिया गया है। इसका मतलब है अब से इन बिजनेसेस को हर ट्रांजैक्शन का एक प्रिस्क्राइब्ड फॉर्मेट में डेटा स्टोर करना होगा एंड एज रिपोर्टिंग एंटिटीज किसी भी तरह की सस्पिशियस या संदिग्ध एक्टिविटी को इन्हें रिपोर्ट करना होगा। अब समझने वाली बात यहाँ पे यह आती है कि इससे क्या बदलता है, क्योंकि ज़्यादातर एक्सचेंजेस केवाईसी फॉर्मेलिटीज़ और डेटा मेंटेनेंस पूरी कंप्लायंस के साथ करते हैं। तो इस प्रोविजन के बाद क्रिप्टो एक्सचेंजेस को एक फाइनेंशियल एंटिटी होने का वैलिडेशन मिला है, जो कि इंडियन क्रिप्टो इंडस्ट्री के लिए काफ़ी बड़ी बात है। अब बात आती है आप सबकी, यानी कि एंड यूजर्स की। आप सब पे इसका क्या असर होगा? तो आपको बता दूं कि ये रेगुलेटरी मूव है जो कि किसी भी तरह के अवैध ट्रांजैक्शंस पर नजर रखने के लिए लागू की गई है। क्रिप्टो ट्रेडर्स और इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए सब कुछ पहले जैसा ही है, तो आपको चिंता करने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है। So this is all for the video. Thanks for watching. So of course, this was a new provision recently introduced by the finance ministry, wherein all the crypto exchanges, businesses, anything concerning to crypto which involves monetary value are now subject to PMLA, which is Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Now here, okay, we already have NPC here. Will current banking collapse make people move towards crypto adoption streamline in India when banks were in loss? Government merged banks, but we couldn't see any movement in crypto. Your comment on this? Okay, so NPC, I think our subject matter expert will be joining in soon to answer this question of yours. In the meantime, if you guys are an existing customer of Unocoin, then this update is for you. This is a new feature that our platform has introduced, and this is all that you need to know about that. So do watch this video. Hello and welcome back to Unocoin's YouTube channel, everyone. So Unocoin has recently introduced a new program for Unocoiners, the Sub-Broker program. This program is for anyone who wishes to trade on Unocoin and they think they have the required time and experience to trade on the behalf of others. This program is a blend where two Unocoiners meet virtually when one is a sub-broker and the other is a client. So guys, we have two separate videos for the ease of your understanding. This one is for the individuals willing to be a sub-broker. We have another video which is for the clients who are willing to avail this feature. You can find its link in the description below. Now let's first understand who is a sub-broker. A sub-broker is basically someone with a great deal of expertise in the field of crypto trading. So as a sub-broker with Unocoin, you can work on your clients' behalf to buy and sell cryptos for them. What are the benefits of becoming a sub-broker with Unocoin? Some transactions done by sub-broker, for example Mr. B, for their client Mr. A, will have a fee associated with it. Mr. A pays that to Unocoin and the sub-broker will receive a certain percentage of this fee amount that Mr. A will pay to Unocoin. So what is the eligibility criteria for a sub-broker? A sub-broker needs to get his verification done with Unocoin, meaning Mr. B needs to finish all the KYC procedures of Unocoin to be entitled as a sub-broker. Interested individuals can express their intent to become a sub-broker by filling out a form. The Unocoin team will contact them to take the request forward. How does a sub-broker work? A verified Unocoiner can choose a sub-broker by providing the phone number of the sub-broker. If the phone number entered by the client does not correspond to a sub-broker, the system will not assign any sub-broker to the client. Now guys, let's have a quick look at the things that you are authorized to and not authorized to do as a sub-broker. A sub-broker in our example, Mr. B, is a person who takes care of placing orders and cancelling orders on behalf of Mr. A, the client. Sub-brokers can exercise action on the verified client's account who have chosen them to be as their sub-brokers. Sub-brokers can place instant trade orders, exchange orders, cancel pending orders, and add reference numbers for the fiat deposit orders. A sub-broker cannot register their clients. Clients need to register themselves through the KYC verification and select their sub-broker they want to take help from on the website or the mobile app. Sub-brokers cannot also make any deposit or withdrawals of crypto assets. As a sub-broker, you cannot take client's INR, and if and when they submit an INR withdrawal request, the INR will still end up in the client's bank account. So this is all about being a sub-broker with Unocoin. If you want more information on this, connect with our team. The details are in the description below. And guys, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to Unocoin's channel. See you in the next video. Okay, so yeah, that was me before you guys start asking all those questions. And as I see, here are a lot of comments already. Biswajit is saying that he won Shiba Inu. Oh, right, 10,000 Shiba Inu in a Q&A on LinkedIn. Backend team, please take care of it. It seems like he hasn't received his reward. So I think he's also DM'd on Twitter, as he says. Please have a look and please give him the coupon code to avail his rewards. And so, guys, you all know about this banking crisis that has just taken place, which was on 10th of March, as I reckon, and that started with the Silicon Valley Bank. Now we have already seen one such, not exactly one such, but a similar kind of crisis in India as well. And as I see from NPC's comment, at that time banks were merged to deal with the crisis, but we don't see any such movements in crypto or anything else. So, of course, I want to know your opinion on what do you think. How this whole thing is going to impact the individuals in the crypto industry or the general public as a whole, because there's this one really good thing about India, that since we are a bit like, we are not really involved with the US banking system, so of course it's going to affect the West, but its impact on Indian I think financial system is going to be very minimal until and unless there is a recession in the West that follows towards the Indian financial system. I think things are going to be a lot more stabilized than rest of the world, thankfully. But of course, we are going to see repercussions, as we already have seen in the past. According the in the layman, selfless, why bank impact on crypto? It's a separate, oh, it's separate entities. So I'll just quickly answer a question, even though I'm not the subject matter expert here. Now, if you see like this selfless, then the stable coin, which is USDC, it was pegged with US dollar, if you know that. So when this entire thing was collapsing down because the interest rates were increased by the government to, of course, deal with. Are you sure about what? Biswajit, what are you asking? What am I sure about? Okay. So since the interest rates were increasing, the bond which the Silicon Valley purchased, the government bonds, those prices were going down. Those were the basic investments. Like any bank, when they have the funds, they invest it in government bonds or other things like these to, just keep their cash inflow and everything, their system intact. Basically, that's the point here. Now, since bank collapse will impact Indian startups. Yeah, Indian startups, I'm not saying it's not going to impact at all. It's definitely going to impact, but the impact is going to be minimal. If you look at the rest of the world, which have got fundings from the Silicon Valley Bank, or the ones holding their account in the Silicon Valley Bank, or the ones that moved their domicile to the Silicon Valley and then started their financial business with the Silicon Valley Bank, there it's a problem. But since, if you know about this, PhonePe recently shifted their domicile back to India. That was, I think, one of the about 8,000 crore worth of investment was pulled off from PhonePe because they moved their domicile back to India. Now, because they have moved their domicile to India, they're not going to be much affected by this entire scenario. If you read this up, you'll get to know about this. Yeah, so I was answering selfless why face cash crunch and fire employees. So that is the case in any recession. You face cash crunch and you fire employees because you need to do cost cutting. That's a very simple phenomena. And the first thing that any company does, even if you have seen this in COVID, a lot of companies, when they saw that, okay, now they're going to have a monetary impact on their sales and everything, their inflow is going to get reduced, they sort of started cutting down on advertising, laying off, and all the other things. Even right now, the main reason why these MNCs are laying off, because there's a recession that they think is gonna come, and it's already, I think, has started setting its foot in the West already. So this is what I feel about that. While we wait for our subject matter expert, do anyone of you have any opinions on women in crypto? Because as I was reading this morning, I came to know this very interesting fact that amongst the total population of our crypto investors, that is, I think about more than 4% of the world's population, 37% is women. Like just 37% of investors or traders or entrepreneurs are women. What do you think about that? There's a huge gender gap in there. So you feel India is maybe having a better stance or a worse stance? What do you think? Hmm. No opinion on women, I see. Okay, so guys, while we wait for our subject matter expert, I would request our backend team to play one other video, which is also about another new feature that our company has recently launched, which is Unocoin Lite. And as I know, you guys love that feature, so if you want to know few more things about that, wait and watch this video. Backend team, please play the video. Well, I'm sure our light mode version is receiving a lot of love everywhere. And of course, the reason being it's so easy to handle. And for anyone who's new to crypto, even at the start, it was so surprising for me that I don't have to go through all those features and everything and yeah, look for things and then finally invest. But this has really made the life of most Uno coiners super, super, super easy. Now, I think it's time that we start off with our session because our subject matter expert is finally here. So I would request our backend team to connect him here with me. Backend team, could you please? Hi Sathvik, how are you?
I'm doing good, Shambhavi, and thank you very much for covering me up. I just got late this time.
Okay. So, Satvik, before you joined, we were having this little discussion where people are asking questions about how it's going to affect India and how is it going to affect the Indian startups and all. I'm going to present all those questions to you, and because you've already delayed, I really want us to start with the topic right immediately.
Yeah.
If you could just give a quick overview of how this whole collapse thing it happened. What was the reason why it happened?
Yeah, I mean, here it is just not the Silicon Valley Bank. I think it also has to do with Silvergate Bank, which collapsed like 2 days before that, and another bank called Signature Bank, which collapsed 2 days after that. So it was three things, I mean, three banks which faced the issue. When it comes to the Silvergate Bank, they usually, I mean, the most of the customers they had was somewhat crypto related, and there was a point where too many people were withdrawing the money, and they figured out that they won't be able to continue servicing the customers, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, before that, we also have to understand how will bank make money, right? So, if they cannot make money, then it is tough for them to continue providing services. Generally speaking, when people keep a lot of money, I'm not talking about savings bank account. Even though there are, when you see number of people who have savings bank account, it's like enormous. But if you see where does the bank have the most of the money from, it's actually current accounts, right? So even though there are like 1/10 or 1/100th of the numbers of accounts, the amount of money that is there in the current account is really, really humongous. Okay. So when people start to withdraw that particular money, then their ability to make money using that money reduces. So, which essentially, again, what it means is, how normally the banks make money. If someone I mean, I don't pay a lot of service charges for my bank when I hold current account. But how is banking making money? And then how are they providing me services? It's because they use that money to give out loans. Like, could be, I mean, and it's not like my specific money is used. On an average, they calculate how much money they need to provide services for this month, next month, like that. So there is some kind of calculation that they will have, and that much money they keep it as liquid money, and then remaining money they use it for earning more money for the bank itself. That money is what makes them provide me free services, right? That's how it is. And some of those, when they give loans, they're not only giving it to customers, they also give loan to the government, right? And in return, government gives a bond saying that, okay, this much money is given to me, and I agree to pay this much interest rate. So those bonds, most of the times, are you cannot mature that bond before its period. So what it means is, let's say if I'm giving a bank for 10 crore rupees, I'm Indianizing the issue that has happened in US. So we understand. Okay, here I'm not 100% sure how exactly it works. Let's say if I was in US, then let's say $10 million or whatever, right? So when I give that to the government and get the bond, then you have to there will be a specific time limit before which the bond will not mature. And that bond also mentions, okay, this is the particular interest rate that the banks is going to pay. Okay, so banks, what they will do, they will give the money from those current accounts to the government, or maybe they give it as a house link loan, or maybe sometimes one bank will give the loan to other bank. And once that thing is done, that they make money, everything is good, right? So now imagine if too much of people start to withdraw money, and let's say the bank do have money, okay, and even too many people start withdrawing money, they cannot make money using the remaining money.
True.
Which means there are X amount of fixed expenses that any bank would have. Say, for example, employee salaries and rental incomes and utility bill, rentals and utility bills, etc. So beyond a point, they will figure out that, okay, if all the money that we have is only say X, let's say in India about 10 crore rupees, and even if the best case that they get, if they give it to government or housing loan is about let's say 6-7 lakh rupees a month. Okay, then if it is not sufficient to pay all the employees and pay the rents and utility bills, etc., then it means you better close the shop, right? So because you cannot charge more money to customers. That's like a tricky thing already, right? So yeah, this is what exactly happened when it comes to the Silvergate Bank. So which is the first bank that got shut down, which is on 8th of March 2023, which is like last week, right? Yeah. So and then what happened when it comes to the issue of the Silicon Valley Bank, the issue was slightly different. So Silicon Valley Bank, not specifically supporting the crypto, but startup and tech ecosystem as a whole, right? So a lot of tech companies who raises money, they keep the money in this particular
Valley Bank, yes.
because it's actually as a part of Silicon. It's from California, and that is where most of the startups are. When it comes to, it's called a Silicon Valley, right? Yeah, that's the reason. Okay, so now what has happened? The tech companies continued keeping money in Silicon Valley Bank. And what Silicon Valley Bank does is they have used a lot of that money to buy the government bonds, right?
Yes.
So and just think of it, right? So Silicon Valley Bank don't need to give interest on those current accounts to the startups anyway. So that's like out of the question. So now Silicon Valley Bank have an ability to make up to 3 or 4% of interest by giving that same money to the government, where they give a bond and you hold the bond, and every year you get 3% or 4% of the money. And if you see the total assets that they have is in terms of about $200 billion, and 4% of it we're talking about say $8 billion, which is lot enough to run the bank. Okay, so that's how they have actually created. And there will be, of course, some people who would have done fixed deposits using that current account money also. People would have figured out, but there is definitely a more money that the bank can make using this mechanism as compared to how much they need to give to their customers itself. And that is the revenue for the bank. Okay, so now one thing that happens, at least since 6 months or so, is the recession, right? So kind of recession where the amount of revenue that the startups were making on monthly basis, it is no more the same. It has significantly reduced, which means they now need to use the deposits in the bank to pay their employees and pay the utility bills, right? So which means there is a lot of money that is required, and it has to come from these bank accounts itself, where those money are kept as a deposit. Okay, so now comes fine. Too many of these people are withdrawing. That is like on one side. On the other side, there is a interest rate that the government declares for the money that they are taking as loan from these banks. Okay, so let's say if it is pandemic, not just the pandemic is over, things have started to take shape in 2021-22. At that time, say the government was giving 3% as the interest rate on the bonds. So in 2021, what has happened? The Silicon Valley Bank has kept X amount of billions of dollars into the government, and they have taken the bonds, which has an expiry of 5 years or whatever number of years, and that bonds now exist as an asset with the bank itself. Okay. Okay, so now as we see, because of the inflation that is happening, to manage that, the feds there will try to increase the rate of interest. Same thing we have seen it here also, right? So fixed deposits used to have a interest rate best case of like 7%, and now it goes up to 9%, right? So similarly there as well, this 3% has started to increase. So now we have to understand what will happen if the feds increase the interest rate. Okay, so now let's say I am Mr. X who live in US, okay, and I have $1 billion with me, okay, for argument's sake, of course. So now comes, what do I do with it? Like, let's say wherever I have the same risk, then I compare where the returns are higher. That's the job for any investor. Risk is same in case of A, risk is same in case of B. Then wherever is the higher return, I go and invest my money into that. It is as simple as that. Okay. So now comes, okay, I have $1 billion. Now there is one bond that is available with Silicon Valley Bank already for $1 billion, which has 3% of interest on it. But if I go and give the same money directly to the government, they actually give me another bond, but that is with 5% interest, right? So which means by giving money now to government directly, I get more money. So then what will happen? This particular Silicon Valley Bank will be forced to sell this 3% bond at a discount, saying that even though it is a $1 billion bond, and from now it will expire in 5 years, and it has 3% interest rate, and now the market rate is 5, which means I will not be interested in taking the bond from Silicon Valley Bank. I'll take it directly from the government, right? So what will Silicon Valley Bank do? Because now people need a lot of money. Their customers are withdrawing money. Their customers are startups like Uber and Netflix and whoever we can think of, right? They're withdrawing money to pay their employees and make it, right? So then what they did, they will sell it at a discount. So instead of $1 billion bond, selling it at $1 billion, they say that now the interest rate has increased, but the interest rate on my certificate is lower. So I will sell it at 980 million itself. So now what happened? I got a bond which is 980 million worth. It says on top of it to be 1 billion, but for 1 billion, they are paying 3% interest, right? So which in total combines to 5% interest, right? Which I am fine. Both are same person giving the bond. Okay, so now the Silicon Valley Bank lost $20 million just because Feds raised the interest rate.
True.
And okay, and now what happens? Because of the recession and more like revenue being less, more and more such startups want the liquid money. And generally speaking, there is something called a risk profile that every bank would maintain. Okay, so that means what will be my worst today? How much of the withdrawals can happen? Am I ready to pay that much of money to the people? Do I have the liquid amount? And there is also a diversification of customers. Some of them will be business people, some of them will be startups, some of them will be employees, some of them will be some other like investors, like that, right? So there is usually a profile of the customers that the banks maintain to see, okay, if the equity markets are going higher, then people will actually want money from my bank. So which means I should make sure that, okay, so I should need more liquid money, right? But in case of Silicon Valley Bank, what happened? More than 90% of all the money they have is only from startups. So, and it is exactly the same startups which are facing the issue of not having enough revenue to cover their expenses. And all of them go to the bank saying that I want more money to support my operations. And now Silicon Valley Bank takes away one bond, sells it at a discount, undergoes a loss, takes that money and pay it to the customers, whoever wants it. So now that happens for X amount of months, right? And beyond a point, they cannot continue taking this loss, 2% loss, right? And if they continue taking loss, then they will actually end up somewhere else. Like, so it's like a loss-making entity. So what happens? The particular promoters of the bank will actually put about $2 billion of equity of the bank itself on sale and bring that money and pays to some of the people who is withdrawing the money, like Netflix and Alex, right? So startups generally. But this particular information of $2 billion of equity was sold by the promoters itself, actually sends a very, very strong and bad signal about the bank. Why is bank promoter selling equity? What is wrong with it, etc. And just because this being public information, people will panic, right? So something is actually going wrong. And then, okay, now as a startup, let's say I'm a CEO of a startup, in the US, right? So either I can believe that nothing is wrong with Silicon Valley Bank and keep quiet, there is no super upside for it, or else act now, take the money before others, okay, and at least make sure that my money is safe so that I safeguard my business. Anyone with the right mindset will definitely take the money.
We'll definitely do that, yeah.
Yeah, because there is no upside for keeping it there. I'll take it to my some other bank, right? So Citibank or HSBC Bank or whatever, few like tens of banks available there, just to make sure that, okay, if Silicon Valley Bank is risky, I don't want my money there, is period, right? So there is nothing like it's okay. It is like out of 100 banks, we also have one bank. It's not so. People have kept it there, right? So, and the entire future of the company depends on it to an extent that, like 15th of March, which is yesterday, was a salary day for people, the 15-day salary, right? Most of the companies did not even have enough money in other bank accounts to just pay 15 days worth of salary. So that is the amount of extent to which all the amount was there in Silicon Valley Bank. So this, as soon as this particular issue with the equity happens, where this tried to sell about $2 billion worth of equity, now what happens? People will get to know, and everyone will put a withdraw request. And that particular withdraw request, they have about assets of about 210 billion, and the withdraw request is about 42 billion in a
Oh my God.
Everyone wants their money out. No one wants it, right? And when they know for sure that they'll not be able to support that kind of liquid money, they had to halt the operations. And now FDIC, which is like a regulatory authority kind of thing in US, so they will take over that particular bank and they will see what exactly has happened. And initially, everyone continues to think that they lost the money, which means they lost their business itself. The business has to shut down. It's like, no way. You cannot even pay salary for 1 month. And when you'll have to face a lot of defaults, your rental payments are default, the severance package for employees default, like everything, right? So it is a huge nightmare for founders because all money is gone at one shot. So, but anyway, the FDIC, after they comes back, they figures out what has happened and they tell that, okay, whatever it takes, we will fill it up so that the people who want to withdraw can withdraw. They can withdraw from Monday onwards, which is like 15th of March. That is when they need to pay the salaries, right? So, I mean, on Monday, actually, so I think it's 12th or 12th. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, this is the part of the story for Silicon Valley Bank. But when it comes to Signature Bank, there are multiple stories. Which is it's a third of the series. There are multiple stories. But one thing we hear is because they were supporting only crypto banks, they did not have the proper diversification itself, and because crypto companies also are facing the recession and such, and needed money comparatively more than normal startups, because the revenues are little less. I think all of this combined, it has given rise to an extent that even they have to shut the shop, right? So now, at least no one lost the money, and there is also a fund that US has created, especially by using other banks. When there is some kind of emergency fund they have created, so they're using that as well if required, and they'll be having the task of liquidating these kinds of bonds and assets, whatever is there, so that the withdrawals are supported from end to end without any kind of delay. So yeah, it's actually too many things happening.
Yeah.
What people thought will not happen. I mean, see, imagine about a 40-year-old bank, Silicon Valley Bank, and actually one of the really biggest one in US, like 16th largest or something.
16th largest, yes.
And having about $200 billion in assets, and all startups trusting them, and they never had any hiccups in the recent past at all. And just because of the promoters selling a part of their equity to just make sure that the withdrawals are supported, just like made the entire business model go upside down
Yeah.
single day. The equity, the share price of the bank, like, really is next to nothing nowadays, right? So yeah, they lost that, and they lost the bank, they lost services. It's like, now it will get more decentralized. I mean, as far as startups keeping the money, I don't think they'll go to a single bank anymore. Before, it was a go-to bank. Startup raises money, fine, put it in the Silicon Valley Bank. That's it. It was like that. That's simple and straightforward. So now it should not happen anymore, I'm guessing. But yeah, so this is how the banking system, fortunately or unfortunately, works. People who keep the money in the bank think, a lot of them think that money is safeguarded in the bank. It is not so. Banks actually use that money to make more money, right? And they give a part of the money to you, and they are taking their risks. They have their ability to assess the how much risk any investments have, and they will stay within their limits of how much risk they can take. So there isn't a single bank in India where if the depositors, all of them, go on a specific day, the bank will be able to support it. There is not even a single bank who can do it. Not even 10% of customers. Forget about all.
Yeah, even this will make you ask so many questions about the security of the money you are earning by working so hard every day. And I would ask all the questions that are just bubbling up in my core. But before that, we have a lot of questions, Sathvik, for you, which are unanswered. And
Sure.
Lisi here is asking, will the current banking collapse make people move towards crypto adoption streamline? Which was one of my questions as well, as I have in my pipeline. And he's asking, in India, when bank were in loss, government merged the banks, but we couldn't see any movement in crypto. Your comment on this?
Okay, let me read it again. So kind of make people move towards crypto adoption statement. That is actually true. In India, when banks were in loss, government merged the banks, but we couldn't see any movement in crypto. See, I think when it comes to banks, I would say in lot of developed countries, banking is a business, right? But when it comes to India, banking is more about trust, right? So the government actually puts their name, RBI puts their name, saying that, look, I am the one who gave the rules for the banks, and as long as the particular rules is followed, then the banks are fine. And if they still have a problem, then it is a problem with the rules and guidelines itself. And the bank will actually come, the Reserve Bank of India will come and help with some kind of measures, make sure that the particular issue is sorted out in one or the other extent, even in a week or 10 days or maybe a month time. And they don't let people lose the trust in banks. So it's very different here. I actually cannot see such kind of spectacular collapse of any bank here in India, to an extent where it has to shut shop and it's like no more, right? So S Bank had an issue at one point of time, and I think Punjab National Bank had an issue at one point of time. But all of them are today existing, right? So they figured out what to do, and the Reserve Bank of India actually have come in as well, and it has helped to some extent, including making the mergers so that they just like grow together, right? So and in case of Silicon Valley Bank UK, that is like one of the subsidiary arms for Silicon Valley Bank, it was taken over by HSBC there, right? So for just £1, which is like 99 rupees, the entire bank was purchased. Yeah, when you're purchasing, you purchase both the liabilities and assets. And from now onwards, they will take care of all the liabilities and assets, and including honoring all the withdrawals for further customers. That's how it is. So I think in India, banking is little more stable. It is not as crazy as this. I cannot expect a day where things go from 1 to 0 in a single night. Nothing like that. Yeah.
And besides, I think Indian financial system is very sound because the core of it was built with a lot of efforts and everything. And as we see from now, it's extremely sound from what we can see as of now. Moving on, moving on to the next question, Sathvik. Um, Here we have selfless. He has a couple of questions. Both of them I'm going to tell you in one go. One of them I already tried to explain as per my level of whatever I know. But yeah, an expert opinion would be a much better thing here. He's asking crypto and stock market both are going down, but why are banks having impact on crypto? It's a separate entity. These two are separate entities, banks and cryptos.
Yeah, banks and cryptos definitely are separate entities. But imagine when banks are losing the trust from the customers, right? So banks are centralized entities. They have the rules of what they can do, what they cannot do. In case of the Silicon Valley Bank, I actually don't see a big mistake that they did. The biggest mistake I can think of is they could have gauged the gauged the or approximate estimated the amount of withdrawals because them having too many startups. If they did that right, then they wouldn't have collapsed at all. But how much big of a mistake? Is it such a big mistake that in a single day the entire bank goes? It didn't go bankrupt, but shut shop, right? So it was not. So which essentially means it comes down to an extent where it is such centralized system, and people now start questioning: is my money in the bank safe, right? And the banks start questioning: I have the bond from the government, and if the government themselves will not come and help, and in this case it is the government which increased the Fed rate, I mean the repo rate, so they increased it, they made me lose money, I suffered the loss, and because of this too many people try to withdraw their money, and the only thing that they've done so far is investing in government. So government obviously need to come and help, and that's what happened here. So this is like I would say very lucky. If they have given a lot of loans to common people, maybe the government might have not stepped into this extent, saying that no, don't worry, everything is taken care by us. In fact, the money is with government itself. It was the
What a game plan.
the government. The bank has lent it to government, literally, right? Yeah, these are the tricky agreements and bonds and interest rates and inflation and recession. All of these in one or the other way interconnected, and every bank, the government, the startups, everyone need to keep on seeing where, because of these moving parts, am I safe? Everyone has to check it. Am I safe enough, right? So, or is there a single point of failure? And if the chances of failure are increasing, so these things actually have to be done by anyone, generally speaking, right? So, in this way, the trust on the banks is now becoming a more like a questionable thing.
Questionable thing, yes.
But on the other side, when with these kinds of issues, people have a very short-term memory. Let's say in a year, after a year, people will not even remember there was something called Silicon Valley Bank, right? So, and they continue to go with the rest of the banks, which will continue to have the blessings of government and Fed. Okay, so now comes for the people who remember this for long term, right? So if it is such a centralized bank, centralized entity like bank, which is it's a bank, okay, you cannot expect just bank to collapse. You can expect maybe a business to collapse. You can expect a human to collapse. Like, what do you mean by bank collapse? Um, so so now comes if the bank itself is like this, then what is more safer? So which actually in the first means like banking system is broken to some extent, right? So these things should not break the system. It is or else there is an error in the business model of the banks itself. It is supposed to be even supposed to be fine, no matter what happens. It's a bank that people trusted, right? So now they see that, okay, when it comes to crypto, when you hold the crypto, it is your money, right? So when you understand that it's your money, then people want to say, okay, I want to have some part of my money at least in crypto. Not, I mean, I'm not converting all my money into crypto, but I want it to be some part of the money so that I custody it myself, irrespective of what happens to banks. There is some extent where I can take the leverage. So there's a small risk profile analysis that they do, portfolio diversification kind of thing, and they will hold it. So in that way, even though banks and crypto are not related, in these kinds of situations, people actually do compare those two and try to diversify depending upon the risk appetite.
True. So, like you said, Sathvik, one sentence that I just am caught on to, that the banks that continue to have the blessings of the government. I think that was the whole reason why Bitcoin was created by Satoshi in the first place. Why he just felt like, oh, these people, they're just, it's like such a game plan. It's them having the bonds, it's them selling them to the banks, and it's them increasing the rates later on and making the banks suffer. And end product, people are going to suffer.
You forgot the inflation, which is also there.
Yeah. Yeah. Inflation, yeah, most of all.
So inflation, interest rate, bonds, banks, and recession. What am my business supposed to do with these five directly? I have my business and I mind my business at the end of the day, right? But these things will just bring such a threat to the business, which is unforgivable, literally unforgivable, right? And also, who's control of all this?
One entity,
Yeah,
government.
government, right? So when I am okay, I know these five exists, and government is taking care of it. That's all fine. But if that goes wrong, then I mean, if I can't even trust the government, whom can I trust, right? In the country. So that is the biggest thing you can trust. It's like a hedge of everything bad,
Yes.
right? So yeah, in that way, I think if this can also be broken, now people want to see that what can be more stable.
Yeah.
Talking about the variation in the price, etc. I'm not talking about the price of Bitcoin and anything like that. But as a system, crypto has built that resilience in it. I cannot actually see Bitcoin price going to zero overnight. It's like
Yeah.
impossible, right? But can I see a bank collapse? Yeah,
We
uh,
have seen.
I've seen it so recently. Can I see a country collapse? Yes. Can I see a political party collapse? Yes. But this is more like it is hedging each other. Look, I hold some part of crypto and you hold some, I have, let's say, one Bitcoin and you have one Bitcoin. We both are helping each other by decentralizing the total thing. And like how you would rely on thousands or millions of people who hold pieces of Bitcoin, I rely on them as well. And everyone is not connected in one way. They are not under any of these five issues or under the banks. So it gives me the peace of mind that the price may just go up or down. That is like how the market works. But that value, there is some value in it, is preserved. It will not evaporate in a single day.
Yeah.
That's the
And
difference.
that's the essence of crypto, what Satoshi might have thought of when he was creating it. One quick thing for LSV Prasad here, LSV is asking a financial advice. So for LFP and everyone else who's watching us, guys, we do these AMAs to educate and inform you regarding a lot of topics that might help you in your crypto journey. And we are not financial advisors. Not we, not Sathvik, not Sunny, not anyone else who comes on our platform. So always do your own research to answer such questions for yourself. That will help you the best, and I think that's the best option in any investment market. Okay.
Shambhavi, so why don't I add some comments about this? Like in general, I
Wow.
don't want to answer or any specific question,
Mhm.
but few things I always tell, right? So people should not take loan when they try to invest in crypto. It
Yeah.
could block it for a long time, and it could be a really, really bad opportunity. And don't invest money that you are not prepared just in case, if it happens. And when it comes to the management of your portfolio, I have seen the people who consider themselves to be like, okay, I'm fine to take some extra risk kind of thing. So I'm not talking about people who are only in crypto. I mean, only in crypto, yeah, it's their fate. Like that's different, right? So with some sane mind, let's say, so I have seen them going up to 10% into crypto, and people who gauge the proper risks with huge mathematical models, etc. They usually expose maximum to 5%, like 3 to 5%. So this is the recommended percentage even by lot of wealth managers in developer countries. But doing this diversification is one part of the step. The second part of the step is portfolio balancing, right? So every 3 months or whenever you think it is right time, depending upon how you do, um, you have to balance your portfolio in such a way that it is within your risk profile, right? So if your risk profile is increasing or if it is decreasing, right? So as you age, if you are say 30 years age, the risk profile will have a little bit extra risk as compared to someone whose age is say 50 years, right? So then they'll be taking lesser risk because they'll have more commitments in the life, etc. So depending on these, they will have to do the rebalancing of portfolios as well. Crypto continues to be experimental in nature.
Yes.
So just understand what you are trying to do. If you don't understand, then this is definitely not what it is. So let's say if you want to invest 10 lakhs, then rest of your other investment should at least be 90 lakhs. Else you are doing it wrong. There is no excuse for doing it wrong. You will suffer. Right? Yeah.
True, 100%. So, LSC Prasad and all the other viewers who are watching us, I think that was a very essential piece of advice that you needed. Obviously know what you're getting into before putting all of your money or your entire salary or something like that, thinking that it's gonna get just doubled up or maybe what increased by 50% or something like that. Because yeah, a lot of people do that. Recently a friend of mine was asking, I just got this internship stipend of mine, I have this spare cash, should I spend all of it in crypto? I'm like, no, because of course you have your expenses to pay. If the price goes down, where are you going to pay your expenses from?
Mhm.
So that's one of the many instances that we come across on a day-to-day basis. Here is Biswajit saying very interesting things. I think he's saying Nostradamus predicted recession, world war, epidemic, and a lot of other things. I think Biswajit Satoshi also predicted one such situation. That's why he created Bitcoin. Moving on to the next question, Satvik, because we are running out of time.
Mhm.
Um, there is again selfless. He's asking in 5 Beam Avenues on January 30th said that it has processed the first batch of central bank digital currency transaction for online retail users. Can we hold like this company support crypto? I think what he's asking is if they can hold crypto.
I mean, I'm not too sure. Infimi Beam Avenues, is it an Indian company or what? I am not too sure. See, if it is central bank digital currency, then it can only be released by a central bank. A private entity cannot.
Private entity cannot have a say in producing or
CBDC, it actually means central bank, right? Like in our case, it should be RBI.
Yes.
So, I mean, if that is, it can be held by anyone across the world, but it is still a normal money, so it is not speculative in nature, right? That is, so in our case, let's say when the CBDC that government is trying to build continue to become popular, and then there is a lot of people who think that can I also buy CBDC and hold it for appreciation? No, CBDC will not appreciate. It is just the representation of same Indian rupees, but just in the digital format, right? So if you do you hold money in Paytm for appreciation? No, you don't. So it is a similar way. Just that instead of Paytm providing you the wallet is provided by the government or RBI itself. It is as simple as that. So it is just another mode to do the transfer, another mode to keep the money in the when that is provided by the government. So today, generally speaking, I can use UPI, for example, obviously, which is provided by the government to do the transfers, but I don't have a wallet by the government itself, right? So I think these CBDCs and the wallets are like one of the few kinds. So where you can actually hold the money also with the government and also use the government services to do the transfers. So it is one step more closer to centralization, maybe. It's the other way around. So yeah, but however, eventually when it becomes popular, I'm sure people will also be able to use CBDCs for buying and selling cryptos. Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, so I think that was the answer to your question, selfless. Now we have Amit Karwa who's saying good evening. Good evening, Amit. And I really feel like since we are running out of time, I just want you to address one quick question, Sathvik. There's this word that's trending after this whole banking system collapse and everything, and it's called choke point 2.0. What is
Uh,
this choke point 2.0?
um, there is no official definition for this, but people think that because there is stress that the government is creating on the banks, in turn to create a road hump, for the crypto companies. So couple of things, whatever we see now, are actually happening. So that's kind of theory of some of the people, and they are naming it as choke 2.0, I think. Um, but at the end, we have to understand all the central systems that exist. One or the other part of the time has to be broken. Either they themselves want to do it, or it will happen by itself, right? So let's say today Silicon Valley Bank, I don't think their intention was to harm the startups or anything, but it was so much centralized in such an extent that uh, the moment people lost trust, the entire bank system collapsed. I mean, bank collapsed for them. And when it comes to Signature Bank, it's more likely, it looks like doing this was one of the ways to control people investment into the crypto, because they were having a lot of clients in the crypto domain. I mean, all three are giving back the money, in that no one is running away with the money, but now the services will become challenging because other banks don't even know how to provide services for crypto companies. These three were comparatively pioneers in providing services for crypto companies, I think. So yeah, it's the banks. That is the way we know it, right? So the centralized mechanisms. At one or the other point of time, that getting broken is good for crypto, right? So then you see that how crypto is not broken, how blockchain is not broken. At least you know that technically it is not possible to break it.
Yeah.
So that gives peace of mind. So that actually is a good thing, right? So I was just seeing one of the tweets from CZ, right? So he says that they tried stopping banks. Now what happened? Banks got shut down, but the blockchain is running.
The blockchain is running, yes.
Right? So, but the reason for them to stop banks is to stop blockchain, but they could only stop banks, but blockchain continues to run. It's like, yeah, funny comment, but it's so true, right? So it's the
It's true, 100%.
power of decentralization, I would say.
Yeah, I think that is what money was supposed to be, but since the power thing came into the force, it's like, okay, one person, let me handle everything, and that handling went out of hands.
Yeah, it's in simple words.
Okay, so I think, Sathvik, I'm so sorry. It's like your video is having certain glitches. Couldn't
No,
hear you.
I'm saying that, yeah, whatever you say is so true. So people who are trying to handle money beyond a point are not able to do their good. They're not able to do their best. In tough times, their models are failing, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, so crypto will continue to have its chance, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so with this remark, guys, we are gonna close and sign off from this AMA for today. Thank you so much for joining in, and of course, waiting for so long, because yeah, we had a bit of time crunch today. And of course, thank you for asking so many questions. They were really good, and I hope you all got to learn a lot of things about this entire collapse from our AMA today. Thank you so much, Sathvik, for being here and hosting this entire question and answer session with, and of course, with a lot of detailed information on this, which I think a lot of us did not know about. So thank you so much for being here today. And yeah, so we'll see you again on upcoming Tuesday, guys. We'll see you then. Bye.
Thank you, Shambhavi. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sat.